Joining me right now is Senator Lindsey Graham. He is the ranking Republican on the Senate Budget Committee. And Senator, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. Can you take us behind the doors yesterday when this bill passed and what is in it?
Yeah, well, number one, it took 27 hours to pass it. I'm proud of my Republican colleagues for fighting back. But what a difference a year makes, Maria. March of 2020, we passed a $1.9 trillion bill, the same amount of money, 96-0, because we understood the need to fight COVID. A year later, March of 2021, the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the White House. And what did we tell you? If they get everything, they're going to run us over. This is out of control liberalism. And in this bill, as Kevin said, most of the money's not spent this year. 90% of it's got nothing to do with COVID. But let me give you an example of something that really bothers me. In this bill, if you're a farmer, your loan will be forgiven up to 120% of your loan, not 100%, but 120% of your loan if you're socially disadvantaged, if you're African American, some other minority. But if you're white person, if you're a white woman, no forgiveness. That's reparations. What does that got to do with COVID? So if you're in the farming business right now, this bill forgives 120% of your loan based on your race. These people in the Congress today, the House and the Senate on the Democratic side, are out of control liberals, and God help us all if we don't check and balance them in 2022.
This is just incredible, and we're looking at the list of things that money is being allocated toward, you know, $300 million toward the arts and humanities. I mean, where is this money coming from now that we've got a $28 trillion tab in debt?
Well, it's coming from your children and your grandchildren. It's all borrowed money. There's $200 million for library services. There's over $300 million for the National Endowment of the Humanities and Arts. There's $20 million for native language studies. These all may be good ideas, but they got nothing to do with COVID. But it's deeper than that. Look back and see what's happened in the Democratic-controlled House in the last 30 days. You've passed a COVID relief package, $1.9 trillion, very partisan. 90% of the money's got nothing to do with COVID. You've got H.R. 1, which is open borders for voting. The federal government's going to take over the voting systems in this country. There'll be no checks and balance, no verification of who you are. Mail-in voting run rampant, so it's really open borders for voting. And finally, the Equality Act. That doesn't get enough attention. They passed a bill that does away with the distinction between being a man and woman in the law. Biological boys are going to start playing in girls' sports. And if you're a religious organization out there and your faith dictates that certain things happen, this bill takes that ability to say no away from you. It's a reshaping of America. This is a trilogy of radical policy, and I hope the American people are paying attention, because if you're not, you're going to wake up in a few years and your country will not be the nation you remember it being.
This is just extraordinary, Senator. Number one, I have two questions for you. First, I want to know what comes next, because I know a revenue raise package is coming soon. But first, on H.R. 1, you really explained that well. Will H.R. 1 pass the Senate?
No, because we've got the filibuster rule. You need 60 votes to pass H.R. 1. How did they pass the COVID bill that we just voted on? Through reconciliation, where you can deal out Republicans. You don't need 60 votes. Again, March of 2020, we worked together 96-0 to pass a bill. So H.R. 1 will come to the Senate, and it will die in the Senate, because we have the ability, as long as Democrats work with us, to make sure you need 60 votes, and not one Republican is going to vote for H.R. 1, because it's a federal takeover of elections. It sets up a system where there is no real voter security or verification. It is a liberal wish list in terms of how you vote. And the Equality Act is coming over to the Senate. It will meet the same fate. If you're a young woman out there working hard in sports, if you've got a daughter trying to make something of herself in athletics, this bill is going to allow biological males to come and compete and ruin women's sports. We're going to fight hard as hell to make sure they go nowhere.
Well, thank you for the fight on that. Real quick before you go, Senator, what comes next? Are you going to prepare for a higher tax package coming at the end of March? Joe Biden talked about raising taxes, $4.2 trillion. He wants to take the capital gains tax back to 40% and the corporate rate to 35%. What can you tell us?
Well, what comes next is the border is breaking down as I speak. Immigration in 2022 will be a bigger issue than it was in 2016. I just got back from the border. They're changing every policy of Trump that worked. So we're going to be dealing with, as a nation, out of control immigration. They're going to open up a 100% the migrant facilities, living facilities, but we're not opening up schools or businesses. Find it odd. We're going to raise your taxes. They're going to try to. And they're rolling back policies to allow the border to be overrun. The asylum claims are going to go through the roof. And by the summer, you're going to have 1 million people coming into this country illegally, all because the liberals can do it.
1 million people sounds like it's more than a couple of years totals, by the way. 2021,
yes,
1 million people. That's more than 18 and 19.
Yeah, get ready for an invasion at the border. Get ready.
Senator, thank you so much. Senator Lindsey Graham joining us this morning.